Hey, everybody, welcome back to a special edition of Wrestling Travels Lockdown Sessions. As always, we are brought to you by the fine folks at True Heel Heat Podcast. This is becoming my line here, but I always say if you got to listen to one new wrestling podcast this week, check out True Heel Heat. Those guys are killing it. If you're going to listen to two, check out Wrestling Travel. We're learning. But let's get to our special guest today. The young gun, Chandler Hopkins, is joining us from Texas. Chandler, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing pretty good, man. How about yourself? You taking the time with Corona, doing all right with it?
Doing all right up until I just realized I pronounced that brother with an A right there. So it just came off the tongue. So I don't know.
All right.
It's been a long weekend. So
brother, broham, brosif, whatever. It's all the same thing.
Brosif Lieberman, to quote How I Met Your Mother. So Chandler, we're so excited at Wrestling Travel to have you on here.
Thank you.
We've been wanting to talk to everybody from all over the globe about what's been going on during this global pandemic. We're really excited to talk to you about that. We're also really excited about the upcoming Independent Wrestling Expo in Dallas. And before we get to those two spots, we got to take it all the way back to the beginning. You got to tell me, man, how long have you been in the business?
So September 21st will be 4 years for me. And that's not including training. I only trained for 3 months. So right about 4 years and 3 months, or right at September 21st.
Awesome. Who broke you in? Where did you train at?
So I actually started training with a company called IWR in Oklahoma. And my trainer was Coyote Joe Harrell, the Chickasaw Warrior, and then Montego Sika, which they were kind of still training in their midst as well. So it was kind of one of those things where they were just happened to be the vets of the place that were training us. So it turned into one of those things of me really trying and training myself, as opposed to actually being taught a lot of what I do. But it was me and Fuego del Sol, another big top talent here in the Texas area. Him and I got the Dr. Tom Pritchard book on wrestling, and we read it front to back, and we trained each other and really kind of helped do that with each other to get us to where we're at today. So Fuego had a lot of help in training as well.
Yeah, that's kind of the story a lot of people nowadays. Well, it is true. You pick up a lot no matter every show you go. If you're good at your craft, you're always learning. But a lot of people, I realize when I ask that question, like who broke you in, it's not kind of like it was back in my day. It's like, okay, I started training here and I picked up these parts of my toolbox, and now I went over here and learned this. I hear that a lot with people where some people have picked up the basics here, and now I went and talked with this guy, learned a little bit of more psychology and some of the filler stuff. So
And I think that's a cool thing that like has developed through wrestling. Like it used to be one of those things that whoever your trainer was, you only did what your trainer taught you to do. Like it was his way or no way. Even if you went other places, like that was your trainer. And now it's kind of those things like with wrestling developing as much as it has, and progressing with, of course, all the acrobatic things that we're doing. It's one of those things where we can learn from everyone now. There's a bunch of different flavors of ice cream, and you can pick those little pieces out in each little ice cream that you like. So if you like the marshmallows in Rocky Road, or if you like the strawberries and some kind of strawberry ice cream, you can pick out what you like and make it your own. That's what I like about wrestling nowadays. Is like you can learn from so many different people. It doesn't have to just be, hey, who trains you, and you have to give exhibit A. You can have a bunch of people who trains you or help mentor or produce what you're giving the audience now. Like it's bigger than just a one-man thing nowadays. It's about the business, and I think we're all trying to save it and make it as best as we can that way.
I always find it fun to watch when you go to a different, especially on the independent scene, you can watch somebody high flying on all these high spots, killing it. And then you can watch somebody who just grabs the microphone and seems to capture the crowd more than the guy killing it. It's just such a, it ebbs and flows the way wrestling works. It's just, and it's
like an MJF. That guy is just like, and he's phenomenal in the ring too. That's crazy. He's literally like an all around guy, but he doesn't do a lot of wrestling right now with AEW. He just pretty much on the mic all the time, and he's literally one of the most over guys in all of wrestling.
Yeah, man. And if you can earn money without, we love it. I know we all do. We love taking the bumps and stuff, but man, the less abuse on your body. Well, I didn't say love it. You gotta. But if you can make some money by talking for a while, you gotta take advantage of it. What if we go way back when you're very young? What first gets you into pro wrestling? Like, who do you see on television that really kind of catches your eye and kind of gives you that edge?
Whenever I was younger, like my mom she raised me by herself until I was about 12. She was a single mother, so everything was really G. We weren't allowed to really watch just a whole lot of graphic stuff. So my stepdad came in. It was one of those things of mom worked nights at the hospital, and dad was at home with us during the night, so we worked every day. So it was one of those things of what mama didn't know didn't hurt her. And so we started watching wrestling, and the very first match I ever seen was a Stone Cold and Rock match. It was in 2000. And not even knowing where it was or when it happened, I just seen those two guys on TV captivating an entire audience by doing nothing but beating the living crap out of each other. Like, they told the story in the whole match, of course, but like they did it with like an aggression that made me want to like, oh, that is awesome. And it was from that day on, like I would go around my house, and I had a younger brother, and I just see him in random places and I just hit him. Or I'd grab him and do a suplex onto the couch. Or there was days we'd take the cushions off of the couch, set them on the floor in front of the couch, and then we use the couch as the ropes. And it was just one of those things that grew as I got older. And it was funny because wrestling was never something I actually seen myself doing as a profession. I was so focused and enthralled with football, and that was my life. Everything I did was football based. And I wrestled in middle school for about 2 years, and that was all the amateur wrestling I had. And then football through high school and college, and into semi-pros, I played for 2 years. And it was one of those things where after semi-pro football, I just realized it wasn't going to work for me in the football industry. I just, at that time, wasn't big enough. I was literally maybe 165 pounds soaking wet, but I was fast. I had good hands. I knew what I could do on a field as a receiver, but no one else wanted to give that opportunity. So I kind of gave it up, and I really just went into just working for whoever I could, and it fell into a job at selling cars. And I sold cars for about 4 years. And a buddy of mine had some tickets to go to WWE there in Oklahoma City, and he couldn't find anyone to go with him. And he came to me at lunch and was like, "Hey man, I got some tickets for a show tonight. It's wrestling. I didn't know if you want to go. I just have an extra ticket." Cool, went with him, and ended up being the one telling him a lot more about wrestling than him telling me. So he introduced me to the indie company that I trained and started with, the IWR. And at one of their intermission shows that he took me to, they were talking about how they had tryouts coming up, and they were accepting applications. And he just kind of bumped me on the shoulder, and he was like, "You're an athletic dude. Why don't you do that?" And it just, for some reason, when that moment happened, like it just clicked, and I was like, I could do that. Like, and I was already missing the competitiveness from not doing anything for 4 years, but selling cars. I had a nice life, a stable life, but it just wasn't where I wanted to be. So wrestling was the way I decided to go from that point on.
That's awesome. So you played wide receiver?
I did. I played wide receiver, corner, and safety.
Awesome. What are we'll go back to wrestling. Now Texas, born and raised in Texas.
Yes, sir. Amarillo, Texas. I am an Amarillo boy, born and raised. Let's go Funk.
What are you gonna do without if we have no football? How is Texas gonna? I'm up here in Wisconsin, and we've got no Badgers coming up, and it's gonna be tough. But Texas is football's a religion.
It's going to be rough. There's already a lot of people that are like, they're not really going on strike, but they're like, I'm going to go on strike, you know. But you know, football is life down here, especially high school football. Like I think high school football is the most competitive thing in Texas football. Period. Yes, we've got the Dallas Cowboys, and that's a great professional team on their own scale and level. But high school football is something that will always be like the biggest thing for Texas. It's Friday Night Lights. There's just nothing better. So it's going to be rough, I think, but we'll make it through just like everybody else. I think it would be cool if they did something like with Jerry's World, how they the dome. Maybe they can control everything in the atmosphere and do kind of like what the NBA is doing and only use a couple of venues that have just domes to keep those teams there and maybe just in their conference. I don't know, but you know, it's gonna be rough because it's already rough. There's not enough sports on TV.
And I feel like such a bastard by saying it because with everything going on in the world, and here I'm worried about football and stuff. But it is, and we're just so we've never not had football in our lifetimes. So you
Really,
just
there's not been a strike or anything either. I don't believe since I've been alive, and I'm 31.
yeah, nothing that I think like 87, but I was too young to even realize what was going on. But when you are talking about watching The Rock and Stone Cold beating the hell out of each other, are we by chance talking about the Limp Bizkit video lead up to WrestleMania X7 in Houston?
One of the best promos of ever, or like in all of wrestling. Yes, yes, that ended up being the match it was that I watched my very first wrestling match ever, or just show in general. It was just but Rock and Stone Cold were the ones that captivated. But yes, that would be the historical one that I think most people remember between those two, and probably the one that was just the most epic lead up for any match that delivered. Like that match totally delivered on every expectation I think that as a fan you would have leading up with that promo. So of course.
That Limp Bizkit, when they did that vignette or whatever you call it, that video production with Stone Cold and The Rock, I mean, gold. It should be in the Hall of Fame somewhere. It fires me up every time I hear the song.
Well, you know what? Maybe that should just be the intro. You talking about earlier how you're looking for an intro to your show.
That should be it.
That intro, like cut some pieces of that a little bit and just put the song and you're good to go.
Until Fred Durst and Vince McMahon and everybody shuts down our little YouTube thing, we should just do it. We'll go out with a bang. Yeah. Amarillo, the Funks. Have you met Terry Funk anywhere down your path yet? No.
I have not. That is one man that has eluded me, and I've been fortunate enough to be in the locker room with a lot of legends and a lot of bigger names. So that's one guy that surprisingly eluded me. And you know, one day I would like to say, "Hey, I'm Chandler Hopkins. I'm from Amarillo. You inspired me in ways." That would be awesome. But you know, if it never happens, you know, it never happens, and you know, I'll be all right with it.
You're a young guy, but you're from Texas. And if I didn't ask you this next question, I wouldn't be doing my journalistic integrity. But I gotta ask you, you're in Texas, the Von Erichs. Have you gone back and watched stuff maybe with dad, grandpa, anybody?
It's interesting about the Von Erichs because me being from Texas, like the Von Erichs were people that I had definitely watched, especially with Auditorium. I've gone back and seen those, and Carrie and Kevin were just amazing. Kevin still to this day, I was fortunate enough to meet through IWR, and Ross and Marshall have become very close friends and like brothers to me. So it's crazy the relationship that I've got to have with the new age Von Erichs, and the stories that I have gotten to hear from them and the stories that their dads told them. So yeah, I've done a little bit of history with watching and going back on that. But I've just been fortunate enough to really not have to go back and watch too much of it because I've had the actual stories from the boys to like really be there, and especially like just the way that we all three came into the business was kind of like just on a whim. It wasn't really we were planning it because the boys weren't going to do it. It was just they were going to be farm, you know. And it happened, but when it happened, we were all kind of thrown in the exact same company. And when it all came to fruition, like we were the three that just like connected the best. And it was always a fun locker room with them. And then when I went to MLW and had my match with Loki there, they were the first ones there to run up, hug me, greet me, and stuff like that. So I have a special connection with, I would say, the new age Von Erichs, and just more of a memorable kind of connection with the older generation of Von Erichs because of that.
That's the best answer I could have actually expected out of you. That's cool. Because Ross and Marshall are somebody that I have not reached out to them, but I would love to get them on and just talk to them. I know good
Shoot 'em
friend
an
of Wrestling
email.
Travel, Alicia Toot, works in MLW, and she does interviews. And I was always like, before we started doing this, I'm like, get those guys on because I just want to listen. I want to hear some stuff from them. So
Dude, they've
I'll
got
have to
stories for days.
I'll have to reach out to them and see if they're willing. I did in the middle of the pandemic when we did a virtual pub tour for WrestleMania, which is a long story. We were going to sponsor a pub crawl when we went to WrestleMania with all the proceeds going to Connor's Cure. The guys that organized it got a hold of me like 2 days before WrestleMania and said they want to we're going to do a virtual pub tour on Twitch. None of those words made sense to me, but the money was going to the Red Cross, and I'm like, I'm in. So I had no sleep from the Wednesday to Saturday of WrestleMania. I'm just reaching out to everybody I can. And I reached the point of, there's a lot of people I look at on Twitter and I'm like, wow, obviously I can't reach out to that guy. But I reached the effort point of no sleep that I'm like, hey, Kevin Von Erich, blah, blah, blah. And I know and he actually responded to me like a week later. But we never really made a connection and everything. It's hard when
Sometimes you gotta bug those guys. It's one of those things, and you've been in the ring and on that side of the things of the wall as well. Like it gets crazy sometimes with your notifications just going nuts. Like I mute my phone. My phone literally stays on mute, and I go through sporadically throughout the day and I'll check things, and that's it because it's rough to hear it just go bzz, 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 or going off all the time. So, most of those guys are just that same way. They're just trying to enjoy their life, and if they see the message, they do it. So just keep bugging them. You'll get some. I know you will.
Well, here's the thing: when he messaged me, when Kevin messaged me back like a week later, I don't have that Red Bull middle of the night wide awake. Like, yeah, here's what I want to do. I'm kind of like, oh shit. Would you consider doing so? So I didn't do the sell and pull him in as good as I should have. But had he answered that night, I know I would have had him. I was too laid back and too.
He likes to laugh and have fun. He's a jokester too, so he would probably enjoy that story if he told it.
Yeah, hopefully he sees this and goes, "Hey, I'll give the kid a shot." But speaking of getting a shot, we've got the Independent Wrestling Expo coming up in Dallas, August 28th and August 29th. You're going to be a huge part of that. Already been announced that you're going to wrestle Lance Archer. Is this going to be your first time back in the ring since the pandemic started in February?
So, no, actually, it won't. I've actually been fortunate enough to be one of the few that's got to do a lot of wrestling during the pandemic, but a lot of it's been the empty show arena type matches. I've done a few cinematic matches already as well. And then I've done a few live crowd matches now as well, with the most recent one being last week in Chicago at Warrior Wrestling. So I've been able and fortunate enough to still wrestle quite a bit during the pandemic. But it will be my first time in the ring with Lance Archer, though. Even though we know each other pretty well, he's definitely a Texas boy. He's one of those guys that whenever you talk about Texas wrestling, that Murder Hawk Monsters in the area, and he's always in the talk of the combo too. So it'll be a great match. I have no doubt, and I have no But at the end of the day, uh, you can't kill this cowboy. I just don't stay down. I don't know what it is. I like the pain, so bring it on. You got to kill me if you want to keep me down, big man.
Let's back it up and let's talk about last week. So here's my brain this weekend. I'm at Warrior Wrestling, just as well as you. That crowd, Warrior Wrestling, did that so well, with trying to keep the talent safe, the fans safe, wiping down the ring in between of every few matches, releasing people in groups, separating. What was that like? That for me. That was the largest crowd I've seen since, well, geez, probably since AEW event we might have went to before. But what was that like for you as
Yeah,
a talent?
back to what you were saying about how they kept it so professional too. Like Warrior Wrestling did an amazing job with literally 500 plus fans in attendance. Everyone was social distance. Everyone literally had their own little area. Like the bathroom situation was even set to where it was easy for everyone to get to on an easy scale. Like everything they did, wiping the ring down, like you said, like very, very professional. And as a talent, um, someone who has to travel a lot, and we're trying to keep away from everything at the same time, so we're not getting our loved ones sick. But it was something that I literally went to that show on the flight all the way over and the flight all the way back through the entire show, like, and I felt 100% safe coming back to the boys and everyone here at home because I didn't feel like I was in any danger whatsoever. I got to go and enjoy a show with live fans for the first time since probably February for me here in the Texas area. Like I was on a different level. It was an adrenaline that I hadn't had in a while because the empty arena shows, the cinematic matches, like they're fun. They are. It's a different type of environment, but there's just no feeling whenever you like. There's no feeling better than whenever you have hundreds of fans just screaming and chanting and cheering and booing and riding the ups and downs of a whole match, and they're there at every point that you're wanting them to be at. Like it was just it was bliss. It was everything I love about wrestling, and I am so ready for that to come back because that is what I miss is the fans, the fan interaction, and that's one reason why I love independent wrestling so much. It's like you don't get that fan interaction on the independent, like on any other level, like you do with the independent scene. Like it's just nothing matches it.
And the thing about Warrior last weekend, it was 500 people, very socially distanced, but even though we got 500 people in the stadium, it still felt like an intimate like setting. Like you could hear it had that indie vibe where I know you guys can hear what everybody's saying, they can hear you. And what I found most interesting is I talked with Steve prior to had him on, just because you have to explain to the entire world why we're doing events and what we're doing to be safe, and because people are just going to jump down our throats. So he was explaining everything. The cones, everybody was set up 15 yards away from each other, and they had said when you get to your cones that you may remove your face mask. But from where I was at, a lot of people very respectfully and being safe just kept them on, and there was no arguing about anything. It was just well done by Warrior.
And I think they're probably onto something too, because if this does last, you know, all the way through this year and into next year, or however long it does last, like that football field setup is perfect for wrestling. You can, they literally took the ring and set it on the 50-yard line, and they had, like you said, 15 yards all the way down one side and the other of the football field. That's 120 yards, even including the end zone. That is enough space for so much social distancing, and they used the bleachers as well, and they had those roped off and sectioned off for people as well. Like there was not, it didn't look like there was a spot of grass on the field because of how spread out everyone was, but because of like still how many people there was at the actual show. it was just unlike anything I'd seen in a long time, and it was cool to see everyone come together like that and do it for the love of wrestling, not because like we want the entertainment, because that is a factor, but we all did what we did for the love of wrestling, so we can have it come back because we understand like so many people need wrestling. It's not just for the entertainment. Like some people use it for like their personal life, like it helps them in everyday life. It helps them like get through their things that they're going through. Like there's so many reasons that people go the avenue of wrestling. And it was awesome to see that community literally come together as a whole and have an amazing show where I feel like every single person that came and left had an amazing time, and that was what we were there to do. Like it was fun.
And then the last thing on that, because I want to get back to the Indy Wrestling Expo, but as we're talking about the safety measures, the gold ring that they painted outside of the wrestling ring, a circle that just asks fans, instead of setting up a physical barrier, please social distance and don't get any closer to the ring than that. Everybody, so excited to have wrestling, so respectful of the talent in the ring. And like you said, we've missed it so much because whether you've been in the ring or not, we're all fans. I was just from top to bottom, such a great event. But I was just like, hey, we spray painted this circle. Please don't go into it. Respect the performers, respect the athletes, the talent. I don't like to use the word performer, my bad, but respect the talent. And everybody did. I was hats off. I always say this too. I talked about us doing the Red Cross fundraiser. While society, I'm going to generalize here, may kind of look down its nose at professional wrestlers, professional wrestling and their fans, there is nobody that steps up more than wrestling and its fan when there's a cause, when it's time to be respectful. There's always exceptions to the rule. There's some douchebags out there, but I was just impressed. I was just really impressed with everything.
I think as a whole with the actual community of wrestling and where the area we're trying to go, I feel like the community itself is very well. Every community has its couple of bad apples. That happens. So, I don't think wrestling's going anywhere anytime soon. And now, especially with people like Warrior, stepping up and leading by example and kind of showing we can still have shows and be safe at the same time. Like, I think a lot of things are fixing to take off for wrestling once again.
Now, if there's been a buzz, people have maybe heard about Warriors' great lineup, and hey, man, I wish I would have saw that live. Indy Wrestling Expo is just following it up with an amazing. It's only 2 days or a day and a half, but it feels like it's got like 3 days of wrestling packed into it.
It's
in Dallas.
It's literally they're billing as 2 days and 3 shows. So they're doing one show the Friday night, and that's just the night one kind of extravaganza. And then the second day there will be 2 shows. So there'll be a show during the expo, like during the day, and then there will be the main show of that night later on that evening. So you'll have 3 shows in 2 days, which is pretty cool. I think that's a lot of wrestling. A lot of people can come and get their fix, and hopefully it holds them through for a little bit longer until we can kind of get things moving again. So
for the fans going there live in attendance, what's cool is you're not only going to get 3 shows, but the expo part of that done very safely with social distancing. But we're going to get a chance to go, hey, say hi to Chandler Hopkins, as it will, maybe buy a T-shirt, hopefully buy a T-shirt, something.
I got merch.
Keep socially distant, but interact with our favorite wrestler. And what I love independent wrestling, but what I'm really loving about Warrior and about the Expo is there is such a mix of guys that the average fan sees on TV that'll draw the people in. But now there's guys that we haven't seen that much on TV that we're going to go, whoa. Somebody like I first discovered Sam Adonis like 3 Warrior Wrestling shows ago, going, where have I been? Where have I been on this guy? So we're really excited to see all all that talent. What a mix.
There's a lot of, it's gonna be cool to see like the diamonds in the rough that we can pull out, and actually like show people like the ones here in Texas and around surrounding areas that we're bringing in that are gonna get to face these names. We get to show them, hey, we're over here doing just as good, just no one's looked at us yet. So now you're gonna have your eyes on it, and it's forced.
So you're gonna have Lance Archer on Friday night. Now imagine, no matter the outcome of that match, you're gonna wake up a little sore on Saturday, and you're gonna have to go right into the guy I just mentioned, Sam Adonis.
Yeah, it's gonna be a busy weekend. It's gonna be a brutal weekend, especially with I was wrestling 3 and 4 times a week, so it wasn't a bad thing for me before all this happened. But now my body's not been doing it that much, and after wrestling one match or 2 matches here and there, my body's like, "Yo, bro, what are you doing to me?" Like, so I'm having to build up that callus again on my body that's getting used to all the wear and tear that I'm putting it through. But it's also allowed me to heal a lot. So I'm probably gonna be beat up after that first night with Lance for sure. I don't expect to come out of that match unscathed, but I just want everyone to know, like, I don't plan on backing down either. So win, lose, or draw, I mean, I'm going in understanding what I'm getting myself into. It's not like I'm just another guy on the card somewhere that's just, oh, I get to get in there with Archer. No, I know what I'm getting myself into. It's not going to be easy, but at the end of that match, everybody will know who I am. At the end of that match, Lance will, if he doesn't already, respect me, and I'm going to go on to the next day after I win, lose, or draw with Lance, and I'm going to do the exact same thing with Sam. Sorry, I'm not scared of him. I'm not going to back down. That's just who I am. That's in my blood. That's who I am as a Texan. We don't back down from things. It's just in our nature, and you're coming into my territory, so I hope you're ready for a fight.
I mean, that's awesome. When you see it on paper, I can't wait for the 2 matches, and then throw in everything else that's around that. It reminds me so much of what is good about independent wrestling. I always say a lot of people will go, fans, I will say, hey, there's a show in this town. Well, I don't want to go see that. That's amateur pro wrestling. And I'm like, brother, you're missing out on such a good thing. A lot of people want to go, I want to go, but I'd rather go to WWE, AEW and watch a show. And I'm all happy for them. If you want to sit in the stands up high and watch, but talk to me about this. You've been in independent wrestling for 4 years now. What is that experience like for the fan? What are they missing out when they come to an indie show? Because you're going to do big shows like this, but let's face it, Chandler, you're going to go the next week. You may be in an armory somewhere in Wisconsin, let's say. And
never know. It's one of those things like with and as fans, we want to interact. We want to have memorabilia that is signed with that person that we're inspired by, or whatever the act does for you. We want memorabilia with that as well. You don't get that at the WWE or the AEW. Yeah, you can have shirts and merch all you want, but you don't have that, hey, I bought that directly from him. That's his signature on it. Oh, and by the way, I took a picture right next to him afterwards wearing it as well. You leave that from an indie show. From an indie show, the second you get there, we understand that you're there for us. We understand that we are going to be entertaining you that night, and we're out waiting for you. Like, we're at our merch tables. We want you to come by and say hi, shake our hands, ask for pictures, buy our merch, ask questions, get some stories, whatever it is. I have lots of fans that I know every time I go to a show. I'm like, I hope so-and-so's here. I hope, yeah, he's going to be here today. Awesome. I can't wait to talk to him and catch up. Like, we get personal with fans on an independent level. And it's not saying that the guys that are on the bigger stage, the WWE or the AEW, haven't been there and done that. They definitely worked to get to that area, but you still don't get that interaction with them when they go to those WWE and AEW shows, because that's not something they're allowed to do anymore. They are, unless it's a VIP signing and they're scheduled for it that week, you don't get the signing with them. You don't get the pictures with them. You don't get to say I met that guy today. You get to say, hey, I watched him on right in front of me. I recorded some stuff from him. I got some pictures of him in his match. But at an independent show, you can say, yo, I walked in the door, I seen the dude, I took a picture with him, bought merch, watched him wrestle, talked to him afterwards, right as soon as he was done with his matches, sweaty as hell. I still got a picture. Bro, it was the best experience I ever had. I'm going back again. That's what independent wrestling
The cool thing about that is, and then maybe in a year or two, hey, that guy that's on TV right now, I had that experience with him at an independent show. And I also like to let the fans know, listen, if I go to a show and you're wrestling and I boo you, you're going to hear me and maybe react. Or if I cheer you, you're going to
is.
know. And on the back of the guys in the bigger companies right now that, I mean, literally when you've got a 25,000 seat arena, you can't have a merch table and sit out there. You'll never get away. So
Right.
many people still have come up from the indies and know that feeling. It's just that, you know, contractually they probably can't, and literally they can't. So that's why I'm excited about the expo, because not only can I go meet you, up and coming rising stars, is some of those guys that aren't able to
Right. You get
do
to go
that
see those
normally.
guys.
Like, you know, Lance, Brian Cage, Jeff Cobb.
There's going to be so many people there. Like, it's crazy to actually be on the cusp of being in those locker rooms with those guys all the time, because I've been able to do that here a lot here recently, and just learning from them and now seeing them as not really someone that I consider, you know, a, 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 a higher upper than me, because they let me know, they bring me back down into reality a lot of times, like, hey, we're all on the same level, just keep doing your thing. Like, those guys, to meet and talk with them, that's in itself is worth all the payment for any of the tickets for all 3 days, because they've got so much knowledge, they've got so much that they're willing to just give to you as well. Like, just personally, they are good people, and be able to see that beforehand before they turn into characters is awesome. It lets you know someone as a person so much better whenever you can see real them, and then turn around and like, okay, now it's character them, and you can kind of see where a lot of things merge, and it's fun.
And that's why I say for you guys, it's going to be a huge weekend, because when you're not performing, when you're not doing the expo in front of the fans, you've got a tremendous opportunity to network with a lot of different, not just names, but a lot of different independent talent from around the nation that's coming in. And that is just as important as anything.
That's a big part where I feel like a lot of people that are trying to make it to the next level, they miss out on. They miss out on understanding that when you get to go to a new place, you need to make contacts. You need to, like, you can't just go in, sit in your corner, get out your gear, get in the ring, do your thing, put your gear on in the same corner, get paid, and leave. You're not going to come back. Like, you've got to talk to people. You've got to connect with people, even if it is like you're just any talent on your level. Get to know them, contact them, say, hey man, y'all have any shows coming up? I'd like to get on. What's the booker's name? Get the booker's information. Reach out to them. Let them know, hey, I was on your show already. Like, people don't do that anymore, and that's why so many independent wrestlers don't make it very far. And they don't understand why in 10, 15 years they've only had X amount of matches, and why in 3 or 4 years these guys are already getting signed and have 10 times more matches than they have in 10 or 15. It's the work. You've got to put in the time. That's part of being a wrestler, is the marketing and the networking. And if you're going to be in the area and you're a wrestler and you're not on the show, come to the expo. There's going to be those guys. Network, market, talk what you can do. See if you can even talk to Kyle, the guy who's running the actual show. Like, you've got to make those efforts. If you're not making those efforts, no one else is going to make the effort to do it for you. You've got to do it yourself.
That's one of the things I love about when I joined Wrestling Travel is we're taking fans, as you know, to their favorite events around the world, but being able to talk to guys like you and going, hey, I know somebody over here. Let me just put you guys in touch, or I think this is an opportunity. And that's what I love that we're doing as wrestling, because we support wrestling from the top, and I'll never say the bottom. I'll say from the beginning. when you start on the
Right.
we support it all, and it was that we might make a little bringing fans into the bigger events. It's kind of our bread and butter, but I can't tell you there's nothing more satisfying to me than being able to be out on the independent scene and watching people I've never seen grow and going, hey, I know this guy, can I put them together, and then watch stuff happen.
Watch the magic.
Yeah.
And that's what's awesome. And like, I appreciate you even just doing this with me. I mean, I'm one of those guys that whenever I am offered podcasts, the first thing I do is check social media because I don't want to go on a podcast. I don't care about followers. I just don't want to go on a podcast that I feel like is going to be demeaning towards anything else, period. Like where what they post is demeaning. And I go, I do it every time, and I checked out y'all before I even accepted like the conversation with you, and y'all were very positive. It looked like everything y'all did was on a very classy scale as well. And it was for professional wrestling. It wasn't just about you guys, like it was for the business. And I'd seen that. I was like, okay, cool, this is awesome. And then the followers that I seen afterwards, I was like, oh, so these guys have been doing this for a minute. So, I'm honored to even just be able to do this with you guys, and happy that there's a base for independent guys to go on a podcast and let us share our stories as well.
No, I appreciate the kind words, because what I did not want to do with this was be the quote unquote like clickbait. Like I never wanted to do a YouTube show and be controversial, because could I probably get like a whole bunch of clicks or something right away? But if you want bad news, you can go find it anywhere. I just want to build wrestling relationships and do what we're doing and go, hey, if you want to look up guys that I've had guys on that fans have actually tweeted, why would you have that guy on? And I go, please watch the interview and tell me in your jaded dirt sheet internet Facebook, where I've got all my news about this guy, and now watch me interview him for an hour, and you come away, you might go, oh, hey, not really anything.
People are very quick to judge nowadays too. Like everything's judge a book by its cover for some reason. Like what you see is what you get. I don't feel like that's necessarily the truth anymore. Like a lot of people aren't going to just boldly put everything out there for you to see. So interviews like this is really cool, and that's why I try to be a little more open with podcast interviews, especially if they're video, because like I want people to see the real me. I'm not trying to hide anything. I'm not trying to be someone I'm not. I'm just a Texas boy that loves wrestling and has found himself in an opportunity to actually make a career out of it. And, I'm loving every minute of it. I'm doing whatever I can to sustain it and keep it thriving. And with y'all, helping out with podcasts like this only helps even more, and that elevates myself as well. And I'm very appreciative for it. So I thank you.
Absolutely, it's our pleasure to have you on. A couple more questions. I want to be respectful of your time. Back to the Indy Wrestling Expo. A lot of matches to look forward to. Yours, both of yours specifically, but what Friday night, if I understand it right, it might open with a battle royal, and the winner of that battle royal will go into a match for the NWA World Title with Nick Aldis and Jeff Cobb. I mean,
crazy, man. I mean, that's the night 2 main event. I mean, right now you already know that in the main event, Nick Aldis will be defending the NWA Heavyweight Championship. Like, he will be defending it. And in one side, there's already Jeff Cobb, and everybody knows what Jeff Cobb can do inside that ring. The only factor is this a triple threat match? And the winner of that battle royal, they got an opportunity. Now they just got to prove on night 1, the very first match of the whole show. It sets the tone. Are they big enough? Can they make it? We'll see.
They win the battle royal, and then they got to sit and think about, you got the excited, I got a shot at the at the belt here, and then you got that, oh shit, I got Nick Aldis and Jeff Cobb waiting for me. And as fans, we just get to sit and drink it in. So that's
it's going to be a great little thing for you guys to actually see, from a fan's perspective too, the way things are going to be done. So I'm actually, that's one of the more exciting things I'm ready to see kind of culminate throughout the weekend. Is they're going to actually have like little storylines throughout the entire weekend. So it'll just be just for that little couple of days, but you'll be able to follow a couple things throughout several matches all the way to the culmination of the night two event. So there's a lot of stuff that's going to happen. Like I said, that battle royal is awesome. The night one main event is actually, I think, could like really steal the show with Fatu and Chris Masters. Those two in a ring together, I just don't know what's going to be possible. Like anything could happen, literally. You got, I think, the match right after the battle royal is Jordan Oliver and oh no, he's in the four-way. So what is that? I don't even have the cards or anything above me. I think he's in that four-man tournament with.
yeah, I think so too. There's so much going on that I was like, I had a notebook paper. I was trying to write Fast and Furious what we've got going on
on my phone, but I can't do that tournament.
Well, how is that? I was gonna say, every one of these matches is going to be like a locker room sellout. How are you guys going to stay back there? Hopefully there's monitors or something,
If we don't have monitors, I may as well sit out with the fans. I may get real personal that night because there's so many matches that are going to be awesome to see. There's a couple that haven't been released that I know of that I'm very excited for. That they could really change a couple guys' futures if they stand up and show out like I know they can. But all in all, like it's just the first live wrestling you get to come to in literally how long? Like Dallas has had a couple of little live shows, but it's been 50, 60, 70 people. But this is like the biggest stage in that area at the moment. It's going to be at the NYTEX Center where MLWs ran before. It's going to have plenty of space for people to have social distancing, just like what Warrior did. From what I understand, when Kyle went to Warrior, the guy who's doing the Independent Expo, he was so impressed by the way Warrior did their setup and how they ran the show that he is going to be running the shows the exact same way. So there won't be any differences with that. He's going to be doing the meet and greets for the expo the exact same way they did the meet and greets at Warrior. Everyone's still going to be social distance. You can meet everyone. You can bring items to be signed. You just won't be able to touch them. You can lean across and get pictures with us. But, that's for everybody's safety at the same time. But it's still going to be very interactive. It's going to be an amazing, it's literally 4 events, I would say, in 2 days. Because you got the expo in there as well as the expo show. You got the night one main event, or night one card and the night 2 card. So you just don't want to miss being able to have all that wrestling excitement that you've missed out on over these months, right there in front of you. And who knows when you can do it again. So come out and enjoy it, have a good time.
And as of the time right now that we're recording this, if you cannot make it to Dallas, I know that there is going to be a live stream. I am not allowed to say what platform that is on right now, but please pay attention. By the time this airs, I'm sure that you will know where it will be live streaming and how you can get it. So if you can't make it to Dallas and you're anyway around the world and you want to see a great weekend, if I can't go to a live show, I can't think of anything better than streaming the live show with fans over 2 nights, having one heck of a social distancing get together, even if it's with myself, I guess. So I'm excited about
There might not be any Super Bowl playoff or anything, or Super Bowls or playoffs period this year. So you may have to just go all out this week or in a couple weekends and just do a 2-night extravaganza and celebrate the Super Bowl and maybe celebrate I guess there's going to be a World Series or baseball. So.
You hit the nail on the head. This is like the Super Bowl of independent wrestling right now.
I know, yeah, it's going to be amazing.
Okay, couple more questions. Wrestling travel, as you know, before the pandemic, we take fans, and after the pandemic is over, we're still going to take fans all over the world to their favorite wrestling events. This crazy world of pro wrestling, although you've been in it for only 4 years, what are some of the favorite places it has taken you? And more importantly, have you been over to our mother country of wrestling travel, the United Kingdom, yet? Have you wrestled over there?
So actually, I have not wrestled in the United Kingdom yet. I have been fortunate enough to wrestle out of the States. I've wrestled in Mexico. I wrestled for AAA down in Juarez, so that was fun. I debuted down there. It was October of last year, right before all this stuff happened, and I 20,000 screaming fans. It was crazy. So that would definitely be a place that is somewhere that wrestling has taken me that I've enjoyed. But just around the states here in the U.S., like I've gotten to see Colorado, Tennessee, Wisconsin, Chicago, Illinois. Like I had never been to Chicago until last weekend, so I got to do that. I've been to Cali, Tennessee. Like I said, like I've gotten to do a lot of different states, but I want to get out of the country. That's my number one goal for whenever wrestling does come back. Is I want to wrestle out of the country a lot more. So the UK is definitely on the list, and there's definitely a couple of possibilities, but we just have to wait and see what's really going to be coming of the COVID situation at the moment. Kind of game plan from there, but definitely want to make it to the UK, Canada, Japan's on the list. But I kind of want to do it all. I like considering myself kind of like a jack of all trades, learning from a whole bunch of different areas and places, and taking their style and making it my own, and just kind of having fun with intertwining different wrestling backgrounds. I enjoy that. So the only way to do that is to travel the world and learn them myself. So
On behalf of our UK office and fans over there, we look forward to having you. Even though I'm from Wisconsin, we look forward to having you over in the UK. Final question is my most important question that I always ask. So if you've watched any of the lockdown sessions, you know what's coming. How can we as fans, the fans watching this, where can we follow Chandler Hopkins on social media? Where can we buy some merch? How can we support you and follow your road?
So I keep it very simple. I know a lot of people have several different names in their stuff, but all my stuff, my Twitter, my Instagram, my Facebook, my TikTok, is all the Young Gun _CH. You can find anything there. My merch is all done usually through my Facebook or any of my DMs. You can find a few of my shirts on Pro Wrestling Tees. I'm currently having more of those uploaded as we speak. I'm just waiting to get the confirmation from them back on my phone. But as soon as those are up, those will be there for you guys to look as well. So yeah, Pro Wrestling Tees for merch. I do a lot of like my own merch through DMs. So if you are interested in any kind of merch, I do shirts, I do hats, I do beanies, I do masks, I do shorts, hoodies. Let me know. I've got the designs, and I'll send them your way and let you pick what you like to have, and we'll get it to you.
That's one of the cool things is what you're missing out on independent wrestling is there's some cool merch out there. People got some really cool designs, which I'm always surprised the big companies don't steal. But I can buy a hat, I can buy a beanie, shorts, and stuff like that. That's cool. I know I said that was the last question, but you said the magic word to me, TikTok. You're on TikTok. Now let me tell you something. I'm on TikTok as well, only because the mother company started TikTok, and I thought, well, I'll get a TikTok just to follow them. And then I have never put my face on there. I've just put various wrestling clips that Wrestling Travel has brought me to, and you're able to set them to music. And for some stupid reason, I have 17,300 followers, and one of my posts has gotten 1 million views. And if I knew any way to monetize that, I would quit Wrestling Travel right now and be a full-time TikTok. But anyway, how has TikTok been a success for you?
It has, in like in many ways for you. I blew up as well. I'm now at 15.5, or 15.6 is what I hit earlier today. So I just hit over the 15,000 mark. But it was like much for you. Much of mine was from one video. I did a rendition of Journey's song, Small Town Girl City Boy thing. And I did that rendition and it blew up. And it doesn't have 1 million views, but it got me my mass number of followers. And since then, I've had several of them that have been getting thousands of views. But I use it more like for acting, though, because I enjoy acting as well. And that's something I would like to transition to in my future as well, outside of wrestling. And, you know, I do a lot of it for acting. I do the skits on there. I do a lot of my own original stuff too, but it's fun. I'm having a good time with it, and it's, you know, honestly, it's improved my fan base on a lot of my other social medias as well. So TikTok's fun. It's a good platform.
We'll have to get you hooked up with our friend Mark E. Extreme, the On Your Mark podcast. He is the backyard entertainment wrestling champion, and the dude is hilarious. So we'll have to hook you with that. Now, Journey. Did you know this is now this you can tune out now, folks, if you want. This is like the bonus scene of the interview. But
I'm gonna sing.
The Mandela effects. Have you heard of this?
So I actually had one of my buddies telling me something about it earlier, but I'm gonna let you enlighten me.
Well, and I don't know if this is quite a Mandela effect, but when they said she took the midnight train going anywhere in that Journey song, if you listen to it, both times when it's a small town girl and a small town boy, they say he took the midnight train going anywhere. And it's very Mandela controversial. And you think of stuff like that, and I was like, no way. And then I listened to it, and I'm like, that's my problem. When you're in the business and you don't sleep, stuff like that will keep you awake even longer. You're like, what the?
Right.
Like
the
Scarecrow and the Wizard of Oz holding a pistol in some scenes. I mean,
what?
Oh yeah,
I've never noticed that.
No, I never either. But dude, when I see you, hopefully I can make it there in 2 weeks, and you're gonna blame me for your lack of sleep over these next 2 weeks, looking crazy stuff up like that, because it'll make you go, dude, I'm a normal guy. I don't believe in any of that. What the hell is this going on? You know what I mean? It's just crazy shit.
Let me know. Let me in on the secrets. I'm down.
Okay, fantastic. So we are going to end this with my ridiculous, I don't know how to end stuff, but it's been a pleasure talking with you. We look forward to, seeing you at the Indy Wrestling Expo and then beyond. So thank you very much for joining us today.
Oh, I appreciate you guys having me. Thank you for helping promote the expo as well, and look forward to meeting you in a few weeks, boss. Appreciate it.
Thanks, bud.